Mr. Speaker, sir, I will speak on Bill number 24 and Bill number 25. I'll start off with the amendment to the Reserve Bank of Fiji Act 1983. Mr. Speaker, sir, for the fiscal policies of any country to be implemented effectively and swiftly, they need to be supported by complementing laws and regulations. And these laws and regulations needs to change to suit a different situation as it arises. The proposed changes to the Reserve Bank Act will help to realign the Reserve Bank's terms with terms offered by commercial banks to their customers. This will improve confidence amongst commercial banks and other financial institutions such as FDB and Housing Authority in drawing funds from Reserve Bank facilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Reserve Bank has allocated $100 million in the previous years for housing sector to assist first home owners. And Housing Authority has drawn down close to $60 million out of these facilities to provide loans to low and middle income earning first home buyers. These funds were lent at very low rates, low as 3.95%. Mr. Speaker, sir, we would like to see commercial banks accessing more from this facility, and the extended terms offered by the Reserve Bank will definitely encourage commercial banks towards this. Now, moving on to the Bill number 25, a bill to amend the Fair Reporting of Credit Act 2016. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Fair Reporting of Credit Act 2016 is fundamental for the regulation of credit reporting agencies. The legislation calls for the agencies to ensure the information they gather and distribute is fair and accurate. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Tuisawau have just mentioned that these amendments that's taking place and the creation of different credit agencies under this legislation will provide same function as Data Bureau. Actually, that is not so. Data Bureau was created in 2001, and it was not regulated by any law. And we have seen that Data Bureau operated through a disclaimer. They used a disclaimer. They were not taking responsibility for the information that were uploaded on the database, which was accessed by the third parties. And that prevented consumers from accessing credit. And Attorney General correctly stated, they in fact denied consumers from accessing loan if for little amount like $20. $20 were uploaded on the data. And that really denied consumers from progressing in their lives. And how that will be different now? What will be different now is Data Bureau used to operate as a debt collector rather than a credit information provider. So they stepped out of their mark. And you may recall in newspapers you will see different agencies advertising saying that if you don't pay this amount of money by this particular date, you will be blacklisted by Data Bureau. This is how they used to exploit and threaten consumers. So this legislation, in fact, the amendment to this legislation is so important. And I'll tell you why. There are two amendments that I really liked about this legislation, the amendment that is being proposed. One is the positive and negative information. Now, it's important to include positive information too, Mr. Speaker, sir, because as an individual, we don't know what hardship we're going to face or financial hardship we're going to face when we borrow money, or we don't know what can happen in our life. And there can be ups and downs, and there can be times when consumers, they face difficulty in paying their loan. And obviously that information can get uploaded. Now, if we're going to continue uploading just the negative information, obviously the lender will look at this information and simply say, well, not worth considering this particular application. But if we also put a positive information, That will provide a wholesome report of the financial ability of a person. And that will also take into consideration the ups and downs a consumer has to face. Sometimes you're able to clear, you can have more assets, you can improve your financial situation. All that gets reported, and that provides a complete information to the lender to make a judgment on. So it's important to include both positive and negative information. And coming to the inclusion of utility services, I think that's the best thing that has happened. By including utility services, it simply means that a lender will be able to gauge and make a decision, again on a consumer, from a financial responsibility perspective. That is, if a consumer is not able to pay their regular bills, how will they pay for other loans which they have applied for? So again, it becomes important to include this information, because that will also give a history of how they have been paying the electricity bill, water bill, because these are necessary consumption, which every consumer goes through. And by including this including utility providers to register with the credit agency is a good move. So it will protect consumers from irresponsible lending and also irresponsible borrowing. So this legislation simply, amendment to the legislation, creates a very fair platform for both consumers and the lenders. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, I support all the consequential bills before the House. Thank you.
I thank the Honourable Minister for a contribution to the debate.